I want you to have a haven for yourself, and you probably do. I like to think you do. But if you don't, and you're trying to figure out how you can make an island that is kind of impervious to all the other stuff around you, get yourself an art journal. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of this vlog, a kind of vlog. I call it the Solmanac. I think, at least for the time being, that seems to be the name that is sticking. Today, we're going to be doing what should be in every artist vlog, which is going into the art journal. When you write and write and write your soul in there, and then sometimes you feel moved to create art, something that exists beyond any words that you can say. I believe that that is a service that you do to yourself. And I think that it is very healing, calming, and inspiring and exciting. And this has started to be in that place where I'm hitting my stride. I think any sketchbook or any art journal kind of has this sweet spot where I think an artist starts really like having a breakthrough in some new way. If you really invest yourself in an art journal, you will have that moment. And I think it is just very special and unique. And one of the things that I figured out with this is it really is what I want it to be. I think, I've been making all kinds of art. I'm pretty prolific. But it was a pretty wild, almost basic lesson that I was surprised I was tricking myself out of. It's just such good quality, and in some ways maybe I was always, I was doing sketch pads with this, that, the other thing, and wasn't always allowing for experiment so much as just trying to improve my technique. So I wanted to bring up this one piece because I have to. Cats are amazing, and Ghost in the Gaslight loves cats. I mean, that's been part of my art project with Ghost in the Gaslight is following my bliss, writing about the things that I love, drawing the things that fascinate me, the things that I want more of in my life, the things that make me happy, the things that make me smile, the things that just excite me, make my heart beat, But I think cats are such an amazing thing to make art about. Their eyes, the way they move, the positions they get into, and of course their fur. And last year I had done this series of cats because I had a whole hiatus in my life where, even though I'd been drawing since I was 2, I kind of stopped it for about a decade. I really stopped it. And one of the things that got me back into it, now I've been really in it for a good solid 10 years. And those have been 10 years of constantly improving and pushing myself and getting scared. And it was deadlines. It was making all these deadlines for myself and appointments and milestones and hitting every one of those. And I wasn't being paid, but I realized that I had seen a great example of how easy it was for me to just stop. And that mortified me of that ever happening again. Anyways, here is this beautiful little fur ball. And this is made with gouache paint, and really just enjoyed the process of this one. And this was kind of where I was like, hey, I can really just get into this art journal and just go all out or experiment with a kind of stroke. So one of the things I mean by that is, if you look at the texture of this cat's fur, it's kind of an interesting texture. And there's almost a stylization with the whiskers. And I'm a big fan of the eyes too. I think that a lot of stuff came together with this, and it was just really kind of simple. And I love this kind of off-white color of these pages. I think if you get an art journal and you want to experiment, don't get white paper, because I think in some ways it's great to practice with painting on off-white paper. So if you get it and it's white, the thing that it kind of teaches you to do is to preserve that white, because there's no white when you're painting as amazing and brilliant as the white on white paper. But if you get an off-white, then that becomes your skin tone or your middle ground. And then your mind starts to figure out how to do highlights, how to add highlights, not preserving the paper so that the highlights are just your negative space, if that makes sense. And there's actually, in this piece, there isn't a lot of negative space. I would say technically everything's covered. I started with a wash of ink. It was really light. And I did that because gouache will rehydrate when you add water to it. But if you add first the base layer, if you do that with another medium that has a certain quality to not rehydrate, I think that is a great way to start. I mean, there are great painters out there, and their base will be acrylic paint, and then when they go into the characters, they're using oil. And I think it's really exciting when you kind of play with different mediums and you go with that interdisciplinary thing. But when I was talking about deadlines, I make all kinds throughout the year, and it really gets these new pieces out on my own time too. And then a whole story comes out of it. It's wonderful. There's a lot you can do if you harness the power of deadlines in anything that you embark upon. This year, I did something that I wanted to do the previous year, which was Catter Day. And I was like, hey, every Saturday for, I think it was 2.5 months, or maybe it was 3 months, I did a new cat. And a lot of those got their own story, a nice long form ghost story that came out of it from Substack. The only criteria was draw or paint a cat. And some were pencil sketches, some were ink drawings, line drawings, and then some were paintings. And I think this one I had done, I think it was like 2 or 3 right before this. But when this one happened, I just had this aha moment, and just felt like all these different possibilities. And I just love the look that this one is given. I was working from a photo, but you don't really need to, and you should always keep in mind, and I get down on myself too, when you're doing reference, you can get really frustrated that a piece is not quite the quality that you want from the photo. But when you finish it, if you've really put your heart into it and you've really endeavored, sometimes you can't see what the essence of it is. Sometimes you're the worst candidate. As the creator, as the maker, that's the paradox, is that you are the last person who has any authority on this, because you're too tied to every single step. And so you gotta step away, but you gotta have faith that something good is happening, and you gotta kind of let go of what you're seeing. Also, there's a mind game that I feel the original always plays on you, where each time you take a step back and you come back, it is a little different than what you last saw. Or you notice that, wow, they look kind of sad. I didn't see that before. I thought they were just being really sanguine or something. It's very strange. It's almost like the image is messing with you, or that it's changing before your eyes. It can be kind of spooky. But I think that when you have something that you really want to capture, life's too short to not embark on that. Go be Captain Ahab. Go after Moby Dick. Get an idea for a piece, and sometimes it's really tough when I don't have a reference, but I want to make that piece work. Other times it's very exciting where you are free and you don't need a reference. Other times you've got a reference and you're just off to the races. All you're trying to do is just figure out where all the relationships are, because that's what a reference is. A still life, a figure drawing, an animal drawing. What you're doing is you're figuring out where everything is in relation to everything else. So it's a series of relationships. Their arm hangs, to this side, and so where's their thumb in relation to the thigh or the knee or what have you? And you start to almost make like this kind of crazy artistic grid in a way. You can kind of look at it that way, and then everything starts to make sense. You get better at doing likeness by doing that. It's a lot of problem solving. This one, I think that with this cat, I think I did this cat in, I think it was either like August or September. Who knows? Maybe it was July. But I love the colors. There's another thing as an artist I've learned, that if I just go with sometimes the color of something that I love, and it doesn't even need to be the literal thing. I'll give you an example. What do these colors remind you of? To me, it's the autumn. This feels like an autumn cat, and I wanted to explore the colors of the fall. And I thought, hey, it's Catter Day. Let me go find a cat that has some of that in them. Now, I didn't go do like a tabby or a tortie or a calico, but I found this and it just felt like fall. And also I like things that are backlit. And I thought, hey, these all seem like a good subject. I'd have to study light a little with this cat, and I can work on the eyes. I love working on expressions and trying to capture those expressions. And this one just had a really beguiling, almost inquisitive but worried look, or maybe sad. What else do you need in the world when you've got that kind of project to do? This being an art journal is whatever you want it to be. When I've talked about doing what you love or following your dreams, this is a real chance to get in there and make something special. And here's the other thing. Maybe, I don't know what you're thinking of this. Maybe you take a fancy to it, maybe not, who knows? But everything in here is really special to me. And, I'm just now starting to share what I consider these gems of little moments of inspiration, and just talking about them a little. I wasn't necessarily intending to do that, but like I said, it's the Solmanac, so it should benefit from the art journal. I think the breakthrough for me with this particular journal has been about play. I almost feel like there's a little thesis that I set out on that was about enjoyment, rediscovering why I'm doing what I'm doing. Not that I was wayward and lost and sad and not sure what to do, but I always like to push myself and see how I can do something better. In this case, I wanted to take the concept of the art journal, and I've had others and they just don't quite land. And so I don't continue them. I've got other stuff to do. But this one, now that I'm putting myself into it and I'm playing around, and things like this little cat just kind of show me what I can do. I can't stop. And it's, I just keep getting these pages, and I'm going to be really sad when it's done. But, I just had to share that. I think that the world would be a better place if we all just kind of got in touch with ourselves, at least to the point where we would just be drawing things we wanted. There's things that I like to put in here that's just not another person's cup of tea. Though everyone loves cats. And then there's things people will put in their journal that's just not for me, but I do love seeing what we all invest ourselves in. I think that we all need a private place. Yes, we need to be with other people. We need to be extroverted, but we also need to constantly check in with this person now more than ever, because pop culture, advertising, these practices are so advanced now, and they are all vying for your attention, and they are learning the science every day about how to grab your attention, how to distract you. I think I was probably distracted from really important things today about, I don't know, it was probably 100 times today. And a wise old man once told me, and this was in the 90s, I think, but he was saying that we are so advanced now that you could take a child out of the jungle who's never seen a city or pop culture. You just drop them into the city for a day or even an hour, and you have them walking around, and then you get them back. They're in the jungle with their tribe, and they will be forever imprinted because they got blasted by images they don't understand, and they had no tolerance for it. You and I were kind of know what a city is going to try to make us think and see and do, but the way the signals are now, it's nothing innocent about it. You and I are not innocent to those. I think the good news is it doesn't take too much to make a refuge for yourself, and you should get an art journal. I mean, this is just a beauty. I think it's called Nomadic Journals is the company. I'm not, they're not paying me, but this has really been there a lot. And another video, I'm going to go into more pieces, but I had to get the cat in there because you have to, who doesn't love cats? Who doesn't love enjoying them? I can't wait to show you more of this. It's very special to me. It's one of my most prized possessions, and I think if you have a journal that you put your all into, it'll be like that. You don't have to paint in it or draw in it. Maybe you use found objects. Maybe you play with, trinkets like feathers or pieces of wax or pieces of lace or fabric, and you can really make it what it is for you. One of my most happy times in life was, I think it was like 11th grade or something in high school. I remember when I was kind of going through, I had my eyes closed, and I was kind of like listing the things that were so exciting and fun. Well, we were given sketchbooks, and we had an assignment that we had to put a page in it a week. And, I was not the best student in high school, but this was something I could do. This was a language I could speak. I just got to let my imagination run wild. It's kind of labor intensive because I'd make these sketches that were so intense and rebellious too, like demons and orcs and kind of like heavy metal inspired artwork, I guess. It was a way that I processed how confusing the world was for me. I think a big mistake I made after that was thinking that I didn't need to do that anymore, because I stopped doing it. And then years later, I tried it again. I got an even bigger one, and I started adding writing to it. Wow, like clockwork, I had some of the best years of my life. As long as I had it was a big sketchbook. It lasted me a long time. Just letting myself go. I also realized that part of me is the writing was a big thing. I mean, if I was depressed that day or not, almost lived and died by whether I'd gotten to write. And years later, I started to realize that writing was actually like a huge thing in my core that I had to do. And it was also how I draw and write, blah, 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 and all that. But I want you to have a haven for yourself, and you probably do. I like to think you do. But if you don't, and you're trying to figure out how you can make an island that is kind of impervious to all the other stuff around you, get yourself an art journal. Whatever you can get. and see what happens. See where it takes you. This has writing, deep writing, like writing this deep for me, I guess. And it's got drawings, it's got paintings, and it's a special paper that I really had to kind of get the hang of, but I made sure to just really learn it and figure out what was working, what wasn't, what medium doesn't work in this. For instance, this I don't really recommend with a line drawing dipping fountain pen. This point just catches on the parchment because they're kind of raised edges. It's like treated watercolor paper. And that would clue me into, well, definitely painting has to factor in this. And I've got this whole thing. How do I get this going? So then I'm informed that I need painting. And then I go, well, I need to make sure that these paintings aren't too crazy. But wait, it's on a smaller page. What can I do with that? So this exercise of what is this journal's talent helped me figure out what part of my talent to focus on. Painting and writing. But what would your adventure be like? Do you do this yourself? Or maybe there's something you've learned about it where you'd like to share. I always love to hear it. Again, I think art journals are just fantastic. And I'm just so excited that I'm in this place where after making paintings and making pieces look finished and thinking about who is going to see it or whatever, to get this. No one needs to see it but me. How freeing is that? So there you have it. I just had to open the art journal, kind of introduction thing that way, and hope you enjoyed the little scene of the cat, the creation of that beautiful little autumn-haired cat. And there's also a wonderful little ghost story of that cat. That's kind of what inspired it, though the painting started to inspire the ghost story too. But if you would like to see what happened there, that is available on my Substack, and it was a lot of fun to do. It's kind of a nice longer form story, so I think you should make some tea or some coffee or something. And then I put a link in the description to that particular story. You should check it out. Subscribe to the Substack if you haven't, because I'm always just adding new fun stories on there. And make sure that you are subscribed to the email. You'll get all kinds of news, and you get entered to win cool stuff from me. I make cool stuff. I think you'd like to win it. And you can also visit the website. Come check me out on Facebook, or enjoy any of the other videos on the channel. And thank you so much for being a part of this vlog adventure. It's just great hanging out with you, and I feel like a little more magic gets unearthed each time. Anyway, take care. We have amazing things in store. If you feel like you're trying to figure that out, I think that your horizon is looking for you as well. Just have faith and nose to the grindstone. Keep going. I mean, that's what I'm doing. That's my plan. So I like to think that's going to work. Anyway, it was a pleasure hanging out again, and I look forward to our next hangout together. Until then, take care, you beautiful, haunted romantics.